10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
It has been a beautiful day. Unless, of course, you're in the path of Winter Storm. Oh, God, what was this one called? Xanto or something like that? Lord help me. Greetings, good evening. How the hell are you? Welcome to the Shooters Gallery on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network, live from the ever-evolving Studio One, and prepared to work longer than John Cena and The Undertaker did this past Sunday. I am the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Layne, welcoming in tag team partner, hashtag Trust in Phil. Let's see, Commissioner of New Orleans, President of Wrestling. He is Phil Stamper.
Well, hello, boys.
How'd that commissionership work for you there, buddy?
Oh, a lot of people got to know me in New Orleans.
He'll be back next year, even though WrestleCon will be somewhere else. New York.
Exactly.
And that'll be in your neck of the woods next year.
Well,
kinda.
It'll be closer to my neck of the woods next year.
Right.
5.5 hours away, but hey, maybe not that far, maybe 4.5.
Welcoming in tag team partner, the voice, Ted Guinness. What's up, brother?
I just want to go home.
You're still in Seattle, aren't you?
So sick of Seattle. Okay, so I don't know if I've regaled you with some of the stories of the weird homeless people that I've come across since I've been up here.
One or two, yeah.
And there's nothing like there's nothing like starting a show with a total non sequitur. But did I tell you about the lady with the lipstick on her nose?
No.
Okay. So I'll start with that one. The first week I'm here, I walk out into the smoker's alley to go have a cigarette. The day we're getting ready to leave for the first time, there's a homeless lady who's out there putting lipstick on her nose for some god-awful reason. And then 5 minutes later, as me and my smoke buddy are about 150 yards away, she starts pointing at me and telling me how I need to die and should have a bullet put in both temples. So that was entertaining. 2 weeks ago, I had, as I was walking into the office again on a Friday, I had a homeless guy jump out at me at 8 o'clock in the morning, point his finger at me, and shout to the whole world that I was the one that killed all the witnesses. Phenomenal. Then Monday, as I'm walking back to the hotel, making my late-night Target snack run, I had a homeless woman come up to me and say, "Excuse me, sir, would you come with me?" And yeah, hell no. Because I don't know if I was going to be led into a homeless heroine satanic ritual where they were about to feast on my flesh. But the last thing that I was really in the mood for was dying on Monday. So, the city sucks.
You were looking forward
to... I'd rather live in Birmingham than ever have to live in Seattle.
It doesn't blow horribly down here. It's just the city that time forgot. And I've told y'all that story. I've lived in the southeastern area my entire life. Birmingham technically is my home and has been for a number of moons. God bless my soul. And even if you're atheist, you even have to say that about me sometimes. But the fact of the matter is, I took a drive through Birmingham a few weeks ago on a Sunday night, just for giggles, just to see what I could see and, take it in for a minute, just chill. And I looked at the skyline, and with the exception of one building, the skyline in metropolitan Birmingham, as it looks from Interstate 2059 connector, has not changed in over 30 freaking years. But
there is something good to be said about that, though.
No, because the cretinous imbeciles down here want to build a dome stadium. We don't need a dome stadium. We need more business in this area that will build up to give us a reason to have a dome stadium.
You guys don't even have a freaking team.
Lo and behold, UAB Blazers can play there for all I care. Go UAB and go green and gold. I'm good with that. But by the same token, it's kind of like I look at and we're going to get to sports and wrestling in just a second. Bear with me. I mean, I look at the economy in the central Alabama area. If you put an NFL franchise, now XFL people can afford, CFL people can afford. You put an NFL franchise back in Birmingham, Alabama, the majority of the people who live in the demographic region of the central Alabama area will not be able to afford tickets, much less a season ticket. So, I first off do not think that taxpayer money should be used in any capacity. I don't care if you tax liquor, booze, whatever. For all I care, if they really want to build a dome stadium in this town and make it tax funded, legalize marijuana and use that tax money to fund it. I'd be perfectly okay with that. But
that was what I was thinking.
That's what I've been thinking for the last 10 years. Legalize it, process it, tax it, sell it. Make the money off of it. But I don't trust any of the politicians in Birmingham, Jefferson County, or the state of Alabama to properly do this. I don't trust them to run church bingo, much less something that could be a multi-million-dollar industry such as marijuana.
Well, you know that'll never happen because look who the Attorney General of the United States is and look where he came from, Eddie.
We can have a long conversation about that. Jeff Sessions is a man of his...
I'd rather not.
Okay. See, I'm not conservative. I'm not liberal. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm a centrist and a constitutionalist.
I'm just politically disinterested.
Say what, Phil?
Nothing.
No, I know I'm an ass. I don't care. I've been called worse by people who were sober for days.
That's fair.
There you go. But speaking of sober for days, said no one ever.
Company included.
There you go. Said no one ever about the party that was in New Orleans this past weekend. Oh, I wish that I'd have owned a bar down there this past weekend on Bourbon. Or at least
it would have been a good week. It would have been a good week.
Or at least 10 Uber cars.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. I took Uber to get around, and all of the drivers I had were like, it typically, because I got there midweek, and they were like, it typically isn't busy this, or it's like a weekend for us all of a sudden.
Did they not know that one of the biggest events in sports and entertainment was in their backyard this weekend?
They knew, but in the way it was sort of translated, first the impression I got was a lot of them, as Uber drivers are, they're typically, they haven't been long-term drivers. They've been like within the, a year or two. Okay. And so they weren't driving Uber 4 years ago. So they weren't experienced with what happened the last time it was there.
Cluster.
The way it was all worded, even in the community, is, WrestleMania is Sunday. So it wasn't really thought for some people. I mean, some people got it, but other people really didn't get, these people are going to start coming in a few days early. Right. They're going to still be around for a few days. There wasn't sort of that easy acceptance.
Yeah. I get it. And I have a question. While you were out and about down in New Orleans, and there's 17 different pronunciations for those two words, kids, so we're just going to leave it alone. While you were out and about in New Orleans, did you happen to go by the abandoned Six Flags location?
No.
Damn.
I did want to. I just didn't get there. There was so much to see and do. I said, I got there midweek. I got there Wednesday night. Stayed with a friend. I lucked out. I know somebody who lives just 5 miles away from downtown.
Right.
I explored Thursday, explored Wednesday, explored Thursday, explored Friday. On Saturday were the events I was working on, and then Sunday was Mania, and I didn't go anywhere near downtown because I just knew it was going to be absolutely
insane.
Exactly. But of all, I tried to go see things. I tried to go do things on the Thursday and Friday when I didn't have anything myself to go do, and I still didn't see enough of the city. I wish I had done a little bit more. That was one of the sites I wanted to see. Just, what does it look like? What's going on?
You wouldn't have been able to get in it, but you could get close enough to get in it.
Right, exactly. Again, just wanted to see.
See, this is a little known fact about me. Things of that, here's your word again, ilk, really intrigue me. because whether it is an abandoned schoolhouse, an abandoned church, an abandoned steel process or steel mill or amusement park or things of that nature, I mean, I'm always just like, what happened and what is currently happening to it? Because the part that really bugs me about the old Six Flags Park in New Orleans on the east side is the fact that you have a company that originally ran the park before Six Flags bought it. They were called Jazzland, and they want to reopen this park as Jazzland. They had laid a bid on the mayor's desk, and it sat. And this is my problem with the city of New Orleans. The fact that you have somebody wanting to bring positive business to New Orleans and they get ignored. Oh, welcome to Birmingham, Alabama, kids.
So I'm trying to read, as we were talking, I'm trying to read a little bit about the history. I mean, it's not owned by the city. It's owned by...
No, it is technically owned by the city because after everything was said, done, and over with, the city has possession of the property.
That's just what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, it says it's owned by the Industrial Development Board of New Orleans, but I don't know if that means...
As run by the mayor's office.
Nonprofit corporation authorized to be created in 1972 by New Orleans City Council for the purpose of stimulating economic development and improving the business climate of New Orleans.
Right, but the IDB is run by the mayor's office.
Okay. They don't want to sell it. They don't have to sell it. They can just let it sit there and rot.
Yeah, that's what they're doing because there's still some perfectly good rides in that place. There's still some perfectly good attractions.
Well, I mean, if you look back at the history of New Orleans and, well, why are all these people living in a city that's technically under sea level?
It's a soup bowl.
Right. Well, it's a soup bowl. The city started along the berms that were higher than sea levels. And when it was dry spells, they basically used the bowl areas as farmland. It was grazing land mostly for cattle.
Right.
And well, then people started to go, well, wait a minute, we don't flood that often. What if we just drain it and start building a city? And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And the weight of the buildings on such soft soil began to actually sink that bowl even deeper.
I know.
You know that, but not everybody knows. That's
okay. Continue, please.
I didn't know that. I'm fascinated. Please continue.
Yeah, continue, brother.
So one of the freaky things when I was in the city, I stopped at Cafe Du Monde. I always heard about a beignet, and I was like, what the hell's a beignet? Let me try one. And so as I'm at Cafe Du Monde, I see the seawall.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Phil just admitted he did one of the two most touristy things that you could possibly do when you go to New Orleans. And, dude, I tip my hat because I did the same damn thing first time I went.
Right. I mean, let me put it this way. I didn't, rush straight to there, so it wasn't the first thing I went to. But I knew I was going to end up there. Let me go. And, oh, my God, it was funnel cake donutty goodness. That's all I have to say.
Amen.
But while I'm standing there in line, I'm next to this seawall. And I was like, oh, this is curious. And, you can't see what's on the other side. So there is a little river walk kind of area nearby. So I go up and over, but I can't go all the way because they're doing some construction work. That's just an inner seawall. And they've actually built out a further out seawall. And just like you saw when Katrina happened, if those walls were to fail, if the outer wall went and they didn't close the gate in time for the inner wall, we would be 6 feet underwater.
Right.
And it was so hard to sort of visualize and comprehend, wow, we really are really underwater right now if things got really bad. The house I stayed in was in an area that flooded during Katrina. And my friend, though he was not down, he didn't live there when Katrina happened. He moved there afterwards, moved back. This past summer, they had a big rainstorm. I think within a few hours they got something like 15 inches of rain.
Yep.
So it just wasn't enough to keep up with the pump system. And he woke up and part of his house was a foot underwater. But you can also see in newer construction, they're building some of the homes higher.
Yep.
There's different kinds of draining systems. They are constantly always trying to improve the pumping stations. And some of these pumping stations to give some context to like, well, shouldn't it be whoever's responsibility to do whatever? Some of these pumping stations are like 150 years old.
Thank you.
And still functioning normally. One of the reasons that why it flooded in August was, it's in the middle of a rainstorm. There's not somebody necessarily on standby at every single pumping station all the time. They just thought, okay, it should work. Well, guess what? It didn't work. So.
And that was the big thing that the Army Corps of Engineers faced after Katrina. Because when a couple of the walls gave and the pumping stations were overwhelmed because things were so antiquated. Okay, some things were so antiquated. It's like, by the laws of logic, you condemn everything and move on. But considering the income, not of the people who live there, but of the businesses that thrive on tourism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's amazing the things that happened. And I mean, 6 months ago, I mean, even before I knew I was going to go to New Orleans, because in the height of hurricane season, there was a lot of coverage. And of course, we always talk about Katrina. It's one of the biggest disasters in American history. It's one of the biggest disasters in recent history, and how it's impacted us. So I just remember watching it and how the states of Louisiana and Alabama handled their stuff. I think it was Alabama. I might be wrong. So if I'm forgetting sort of my state placement for a moment.
Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama.
Louisiana, Mississippi. It might have been Mississippi, but I thought it was Alabama. Maybe I'm wrong, and if you can correct me if it's that part. Whatever state it was that was not Louisiana that also took in a huge amount of impact, basically did stuff themselves. They didn't wait for FEMA to step in.
Right.
And it wasn't in a way to really dog anybody. It was like we got to move. And they handled it themselves, and then tried to go to FEMA, and FEMA, of course, was not a big help to anybody at the time. And in New Orleans, that it was not that they weren't, it was that they went the route that they thought they were supposed to go, which was, well, FEMA's here to help us, and they weren't, and in a timely fashion. So you're right. The Army Corps of Engineers, one of the arguments was, well, who should pay for this? Well, the Army Corps of Engineers built the levee system that failed, and before it went to any kind of arbitration, it was realized, like, oh, wait a minute, we built the system that failed. Oh yeah, we would lose. So they built up further. There's all sorts of levels of problems when it comes to the levees and draining systems. They're still only built up to the standard that could survive a category 3 hurricane.
Correct.
Katrina was a category 5.
Right.
And if you look at some of the hurricanes that hit Florida this last year,
or Puerto Rico,
or Haiti, they were coming in as 5s and 4s.
Well, remember what happened with Sandy, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Sandy was weird in where it hit, just because it stalled out. That was half the problem. That it just didn't move.
That was the problem with Katrina. The fact that once Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast, she took her sweet ass time moving around, and that just kept pulling water in, and the positioning of where New Orleans was, and as well as everything else due east of New Orleans.
Right.
You had the eye come in to the east of New Orleans, and it just kept pulling water around and dumping it on New Orleans.
One of the freaky things that sort of hit me, I mean, one, it's definitely a topic of conversation. Even if you don't bring it up, it's going to come up.
Right.
I think every Uber driver I had, talked about it at some point. And it, and so once you get there, if you've never been to New Orleans, and once you sort of get the scope of, how big was this flooding area in the cities and the neighborhoods and the outside of the city area, and to hear just how wide it was, it's like, okay, wow. To see where the actual sea level is compared to where the city is, it's like, oh.
Drive across Pontchartrain, you'll see what it is.
Oh, God. We'll put and to put in some context, so where the city of New Orleans is to the north is this giant lake Pontchartrain. And it's not like, I think people misunderstand and think it's like a pond.
No.
Like this. As I was coming in on a plane, I looked to my left and I'm like, okay, this is Lake Pontchartrain. Okay. We're going. The captain finally says, okay, we're going to get ready to land soon. I'm like, this lake is still over here.
Yeah, I know.
It's a big lake. And And that was interesting. On the Friday morning, I took a walk through what's called City Park, and to get into it, you have to go over one of the levees. Now, I live in Southern Maryland. I have the bay on one side. I have the Patuxent River next to me. My county is surrounded on 3.5 sides by water, and the half side, there is no that you still have to take a bridge to get out to go if you go to the north. So we're completely surrounded by water. The weirdest thing that I kind of took away was in most of the levees, unless you have a multiple, and I don't mean like a 2, I mean like a 4 or 5 story house, you cannot see inside of these levees because the berms are so high and the walls are so high. And for me, who lives near the water, to be like, I can't see the water? That was weird for my brain to try to comprehend. And then because then there's that little part of me too that's like, so how would I know if something was wrong?
Coming up next. No, here's exactly if you live in any area of the United States, here's exactly how you know something's wrong. Jim Cantori shows up.
There's a I think I've mentioned them before. There's a podcast I listen to called the Don and Mike Show, or excuse me, the Mike O'Mara Show. Don left.
Wow.
And that's years ago. It's been the Mike O'Mara Show for 8 years now. Mike talks, and he lives now in Fort Myers, Florida. So his home was hit by the hurricanes that came through Florida, and he left. He realized something's not right. I have a funny feeling because the time he left, it was supposed to hit the Miami side of the state.
Correct.
And he's like, I don't know, something's not right. I'm leaving now. And so they left. They actually came up to the DC area, and he talked on the show, kind of the same thing. He's like, "Oh, where's Jim Cantori? My neighborhood."
Yeah, no. See, real quick, in my home market of Birmingham, Alabama, one of the most respected names in weather is chief meteorologist for ABC 3340. Here in our home market, his name is James Spann. We have what we jokingly call the 3 faces of Spann, or the 3 phases of Spann. Number 1, if it's a typical day, he's wearing a suit and tie. If we have a weather event occur that's low level, he's still in the jacket. If it starts to escalate to a point where they're going to start doing long form coverage or break-ins, the jacket goes bye-bye and there's the suspenders. Mm-hmm. Phase 3, the sleeves gets rolled up and you need to head for your safe place. Because they're going to be there a while. And trust me, fear the polygon. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I'm in the mid-Atlantic area to add weird context. So like the Wednesday I'd left to go to New Orleans, they were talking that this past Saturday there were supposed to be 8 to 12 inches of snow up here.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it changed. The weather pattern moved a little bit more north. Today was 73. Next week, I can't remember what date, they're talking about snow again.
Yeah, Winter Storm Xanto.
Right. I'm like, this is friggin' mid-April we're talking about, and we're getting what could be some significant weather storm.
So, Ted, do you miss all this being up in Idaho and Seattle?
Say that again?
Do you miss any of this by being up in Idaho and Seattle?
I miss all of it, actually.
Okay.
From what I understand, it snowed a little bit today because Idaho's weather is a little bipolar. But for the most part, we don't get hurricanes, we don't get tornadoes, we get the occasional rain shower, a bunch of dry heat in the summertime, a couple of occasional rain showers in autumn. When Seattle and San Francisco start getting hit, we get their sloppy seconds. And then, depending on whether Mother Nature's on the period or not, we might get a ton of snow or we might get skipped. So it's you never know what you're going to get, but it's never really that really extreme in the Boise metro area. Up in the Sawtooth Mountains and some of the other mountain ranges, they get completely hammered, which makes for really good skiing. But for the most part, this is where I am, where I live. It's more of a even temperate climate, as opposed to say something like Seattle, which I don't know if you guys have ever heard the term microclimate.
Yeah.
It was actually a big thing in San Francisco, in the San Francisco Bay Area. There are actually like 31 different microclimates that the climate actually changes if you go 25 miles away. It's different, and Seattle has a lot of that too. That I've noticed that you can be in one part of the city, go 10 miles the other, and it's sunny. You go 10 miles across town, and it's raining there, so you can't really tell. In Boise, Meridian, where I live, it's pretty much balanced, and you get just like these very small spikes of extreme weather activity, but it's rare. It's very rare.
Let me go ahead and throw this one out there. Tuesday night, SmackDown. The moment finally occurred after Peyton and Billy, the Iconics, pulled a beat down on Charlotte. Carmella comes out and cashes in her Ms. Money in the Bank. Successfully, I might add. Which I do have to sit back and say, Kyoto, you've dealt with a cash-in before. What the hell? That had to be the worst reaction by a referee that I've ever seen in my life when it comes to cashing in. But the question is, Carmella's cashing in of the Money in the Bank case Tuesday night was blank. Phil.
I mean, I saw the reaction, but I thought her reaction was good, if that's what you mean. Or do you mean my reaction to it just happening in itself?
Right. Second one.
Right. Okay, thanks for answering. Sorry. I mean, she was not the person who should have gotten it. It was only given to her because it was part of a gimmick that they had with James Ellsworth that also went south, and then they fired him, and then she shouldn't have had it. I thought they were going to do it when they kicked it out of her hand, and they were going to say something like, "Oh, you lost your shot. Oh, darn, what a shame." Okay, she got it. Yay, boo, whatever. Like, move on. Now, that I think if anything, that might A, open up Charlotte to do something else. B, maybe Charlotte's going to go back to Raw. I'm kind of curious as to what will happen next. But as for her winning, like, it is what it is.
So, in other words, in your opinion, the word that fills in the blank was meh.
Meh.
Ted Guinness.
Slightly higher pitched.
There you go. Ted, fill in the blank.
Terrible. What in the blue living hell? Unless they're going to move Charlotte over to Raw, Alexa Bliss over to SmackDown in the Superstar Shakeup, because I don't see Bliss and Charlotte ever being on the same show for a long time, just to keep those two away from each other, so that when they finally do meet in a match that matters, there's going to be a huge-ass build for it. I mean, realistically, Carmella's going to be a transitional champion. She's only going to have the belt maybe a month, couple of months, before she drops it to whichever babyface comes over from the Raw roster. I don't think anyone on the SmackDown roster right now is going to get it. She's basically a placeholder. She's a coaster on a coffee table, waiting for a cup of coffee to land on her so she can actually be useful. Because, like I said a couple of weeks ago, she is as useless as an Amish prostitute and just as appealing to look at. She's hideous. I have no problem saying this stuff because I'm an asshole, but she does nothing for me, and I want her to go away, and the only reason she still has a job is because she's getting tapped by Big Cass. That's it.
Originally in the Women's Battle Royal, when I saw her, I swear to God, I thought it was Dee Snider from Twisted Sister.
Could be she's dressing up a lot like him. Yeah, I think he had the same damn outfit on the cover of the Stay Hungry album. Definitely had the same makeup.
Yeah, and the same hairstyle.
All she was missing was holding a big old bone in her hand and trying to snarl.
Yeah. I mean, legit. I mean, I'm really trying not to, but I swear to God, the minute I looked on the cameras, I looked on the screen and I thought, what is Dee Snider special guest referee or something? A ring announcer? What? And I pray Dee Snider will forgive me.
I would have popped for that.
The entire time you were talking, all I could hear in my brain was yabba dabba doo.
Now
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why, but I'll take it. Question mark.
Now remember, we said Dee Snider, not Ted Nugent.
I'm just shaking my head. That's all I got left.
After this weekend, I don't blame you.
Was that a little too harsh on Carmella? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Were you honest? Were you honest?
Have I ever not been?
There you go. That's all I can ask.
Thank you.
I mean, I've not been a fan of hers, period. Look, her makeup looks like it has been sandblasted. Her hairstyle looked like Light Socket 101. For them to say there is no sexualization of women in WWE, granted she's wearing tights or hose, whatever, but the outfit that she was wearing is a complete V up her non-existent ass. I mean...
She was fucking her own pancreas.
Score. Give him that one.
I don't want to.
Okay, I throw this one to both of you, and Ted, you'll go first on this one. Are we spoiled on the cash-ins on Money in the Bank and praying for creativity, even though there may not be a creative way yet to do it anymore?
I don't necessarily think we're spoiled on it. I think the problem is that a lot of the people that win the Money in the Bank, with the exception of Rollins, Edge, I'll give you. Let me do it this way. The four most successful cash-ins, obviously Edge the first time. I'm going to say Dolph Ziggler, Miz,
2013,
and what's that?
Dolph Ziggler, 2013.
Yep, Dolph Ziggler. Yeah, what you just said. Miz, and then Seth Rollins. So I think those are the four most successful. But the problem is that they're putting the briefcase in the hands of people that they hope will be able to elevate it, but then they kill their storyline, so there's not really a whole lot of interest. I mean, look at Damian Sandow. He would have been a great champion, but the problem is that after they gave him the Money in the Bank, they split him off the program. With Cody, he was just kind of floundering. His character died, and so they had Cena kill him off. I think the concept has jumped the shark, run its course, and needs to go away. The only reason it doesn't is because it's a paper. It's not one of the big 5 pay-per-views.
Philip, your thoughts?
I mean, I'm okay with Money in the Bank being a thing. I'm okay with it. I always thought from the beginning, like, oh, this is odd. This is gonna be Carmella. Like, I thought they would do something maybe a little bit different. I don't know what that would be. I didn't really put much thought towards it. I don't know if I ever expected her to. I don't know. It's gonna sound weird. I really didn't expect her to beat anybody, unless she improved, and I don't think I've seen that improvement. In my personal opinion.
When was the last time she actually had a singles match on TV? Everything she's done has been tags or, schmozzes or, just something that she hasn't had a competitive one-on-one match on TV. And now we're looking at a situation where we're looking at about 30 to 60 days of, oh, we're going to have a match. Oh, no, she's going to bail out of the ring, take her title, and walk. It's going to go down as one of the worst and most pointless title reigns in the history of anything.
Transitional.
And I'm talking like even Boy Scout Pinewood Derbies have more relevance than the SmackDown Women's title at this moment.
Transitional champion.
We can only hope.
I mean, sometimes it works to their advantage.
I mean, one of the things that they very easily and very possibly could do is, well, if they do this talent shakeup and if they do it like how they've done the draft sometimes, so-and-so is drafted to SmackDown, out they come for their debut, and it's against Carmella for the title, and that person on their debut wins it. Oh, I don't know, just like somebody did who's now the commissioner of SmackDown Live. Or GM, sorry.
Now, I'm trying to remember because, correct me if I'm wrong, you were talking about 4 of the better ones. I do believe that Rob Van Dam was Mr. Money in the Bank when he cashed in against John Cena at a title unification match when he, at One Night Stand.
Yeah, but that one was announced. And I mean that is the only one that was announced beforehand. It was handled creatively, and it was designed to draw interest to the second One Night Stand pay-per-view to sell tickets and to give Rob Van Dam finally the rub in front of his people over John Cena, which I had no problem with, but I won't call it one of the top 4 greatest cash-ins because what makes the cash-in so great is that it's like a Randy Orton RKO. It comes out of nowhere. You never know when it's going to happen. And if it's done right, which we've seen more often than not, it's not, it actually can lead to a very magical moment. But, again, they just have to get it into the right hand. And then they have to get creative behind them and book them in a credible manner. I think what hurts Carmella, obviously, because she doesn't have one-on-one matches on TV ever since she's held it. But I think they put it on her with the idea that Ellsworth was going to be with her for a long term, and then they finally cut bait on Ellsworth, and they were left scrambling, and she was just kind of an afterthought. Because realistically, if you look at all the Money in the Bank contract holders, they've always been there's always been a program, or they're always on TV, or even if it's just a brief mention, it's hey, there's the Money in the Bank contract holder. He's standing in the back and he's looking at the champion and just kind of has a smug smile on his/her face. With Carmella, there wasn't that, and even when she did have that smug smile on her face, she didn't look like a badass. She looked like she was passing bad gas. And at that point, they can't just say, oh, we're going to take the contract off of you and put it on someone else because, the first women's Money in the Bank contract holder, if they had done that, they would have shot any credibility that women's Money in the Bank match would ever have, ever. So they were just kind of stuck in a situation where they had to see it through, but they just didn't know how to get there. So finally, they get the Iconic Duo out there, which I'm a fan of half of them. I like Peyton Royce. Billie Kay, I've never been really a fan of her work. I think Royce is much more polished. It was nice to give them the rub and have them beat up Charlotte. That was great. And then when Carmella came out, it was just like, oh, yeah, here we go. All right, great. She won the title. All right, where's the Cheez-Its?
Actually, I've got Cheez-Its and Ritz crackers over here.
I mean, there's just nothing there to keep with her character and the entire string of 322 days she's held that brief. They've done nothing with her to make anyone interested in her.
Right.
And I mean, half of it is WWE office and WWE creative. The other half is her. When when you look back at NXT and you have Enzo and Cass, one of the, if not the most popular tag teams in NXT, and everybody was cheering during Enzo's, usual spiel and introduction, talking about him and Big Cass. And then when Carmella was introduced, it went from yay, yay to meh. And then when she would come out on NXT on her own, the same crowd that would cheer Enzo and Cass would boo the hell out of her. If that's not a red flag at that point, Triple H, Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, what more do you need to do? Do we need to drag bulls from Pamplona and wave red flags in front of them so they run you over and let you know that, hey, this character isn't working? You fired people for less. Why are you holding on to her?
Good question.
I don't know.
Good question. Stamper, got a follow-up?
Nope. I just don't, just because it's right there. We've said she was in a relationship with Big Cass, which I've heard both she is still and is not anymore. So I'm kind of right there. If the level of skill and ability isn't there, why is she an active wrestling diva in an age of the women's revolution? And so I'm not opposed to her being there in a non-wrestling capacity, but then what's the purpose of her in a wrestling capacity if she is?
None. To which I'll just simply sit back and say, everybody has their favorite cash-ins, and Ted, you've talked about a couple of yours. Phil, right off the top of your head, do you have a favorite cash-in?
Oh, geez. I don't know if I do, because I do like the suddenness, the shock of it, and I kind of agree with you. One of the worst, I thought, was the predicted John Cena's gonna lose, and he's setting this match so well far out in advance. Call out for it like that. I didn't like. I thought they kind of advanced that too much and told the story before it was there.
Let's see. I thought for sure that it was going to be at WrestleMania because on the pre-shows I had made the statement that Carmella was going to cash in during the Nia Jax Alexa Bliss match. And it was incredibly obvious that is the way that could have gone. You knew it wasn't going to happen during Asuka Charlotte. There would have been a riot had that occurred.
Right.
At least if you do it to where Nia gets the belt, Kane-esque, Daniel Bryan-esque, 18 seconds. Carmella comes down, cashes in, kick on Nia, 1, 2, 3. You put Nia immediately back into the role of pursuer where she has been dynamite. But they went ahead and did it the night, Tuesday after Mania. And lo and behold, I think I've tipped my hand on more than one occasion as to exactly what my favorite cash-in was. One of the few times in history you actually hear Michael Cole go, whoa, 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 which is something that I did 3 years before that.
When we're ready, I want to have a conversation about Michael Cole and Corey Graves, but continue and then we can go.
I'm sick and tired of Corey Graves constantly trying to over-the-top Coachman. Coachman's trying to get back into his role, and granted, it's taken a little while, but Coachman's not trying to. He's not trying to big dog Graves, but Graves just constantly tries to openly denigrate Coachman on air. And look, kids, you either are a babyface or you're a heel in that particular capacity. And what Graves is doing in that particular role, I don't care if he's supposed to be the tweener or the flip-flop or the waffle guy.
Mm-hmm.
New Day has pancakes. Corey Graves is waffle. But the fact of the matter is...
Waffle?
Pretty much. Scattered, smothered, and covered. But the thing for me is, let it go. You're supposed to be calling a match. And when announcers, commentators start doing things like that, it takes away from the match. I got sick and tired of it when it was Jeremy Borash and Josh Matthews done at Impact. And it's even worse right now because the stuff that, I don't know if it's Vince in his ear or who's in his ear, but it just sounds petty. It sounds one-dimensional. It sounds cheap. if you're going to go over the top of somebody, at least make it an intelligent, logical argument, one-liner, and just lay it out there. But don't sound like a petty little bitch. And that's what Corey Graves is doing in my book, and that is cheapening his overall appeal on television. Because you have a ton of people who came over when they found out Coach was on Raw, and who used to watch him on SportsCenter. Mm-hmm. So, lo and behold, you're going to piss off fans if you keep doing this.
So, what I thought was, I think it was on Raw, so I don't think it was during WrestleMania. Yeah, it had to be Raw because they were coming back from commercial. They're reading from a prompter. And what's funny is they're reading from a prompter, and it's not because of anybody else, but because I could see Michael Cole reading from the prompter because his lips were moving while Corey Graves was talking because he was ready for his spot to read the lines, and Corey just kept talking. So there's something going on. Like I caught that. I've caught a couple of times, not just the jibes to Coachman because what they've done is they've made him the Brian Saxton. They've made him old Coach. They made him the laughable at guy of the threesome. But Cole, for the longest time, and a lot of people have complained about his style on commentary. At the same time, on the production side, he's been the king of it for a while because not only the spot he's had, but because he's been able to just call the action, control some of the production, have a voice in his ear, and people have always complimented him on that he's really kind of doing 5 things at once, and you just don't know it because he's on air live doing commentary. And so if Graves is talking over him, I'm like, that seems like that's presenting some kind of a challenge. And I don't know if, they had that commercial break and Cole looks over at him and goes, "Bro, can you not read a script?" Like, I don't know, but you could see it because it was just so obvious. But I've seen Cole also lip read before stuff, and I don't really care for that. But if that's a style and it's getting him through, okay, go for it. Where I'm okay with the persona of Corey Graves, there's something about the delivery style that just seems off. And it could be just as simple as the chemistry isn't there and Corey is good enough to try to make the best of it in that situation.
Okay. Graves works how many shows?
What, 2 or 3 a week now?
Yeah. That's too much. The individuality of working with Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton, Michael Cole and Jonathan Coachman, and Mauro Ranallo down at NXT. It's like you're dealing with diverse styles. Now, granted, Ranallo is the best of the 3 on the lead role. I'm sorry. Phillips and Cole can battle it out for second. The whole scenario for me is very clear cut. Pick a show. Mm-hmm. But yet, I would rather, and this is the bad part for me, I would rather see Cole and Coachman on Raw, Ranallo and Graves on NXT, bring up Percy and put him with Tom Phillips over on SmackDown.
No.
Give him a chance to sink or swim on the main one.
No, he's sinking on NXT as it is.
Sometimes.
Oh my God, Percy Watson is the Green Apple Splatters. I would say the Drizzly S's, but it's a family show. He's the Green Apple Splatters, and Coachman, since he's been back on Raw, has not been that much better. And he's trying to be, don't call me your journalist, but let me throw some irrelevant sports analogies out here, and I'll have my sentence cut off 3/4 of the way while I'm getting it out of my mouth, and it's just like, I don't know, have you guys heard of, you guys probably know about Wrestle Talk, right? Big YouTube thing, big YouTube channel. Yeah. They have, Ollie Davis has just this always cutaway where he's yelling, "Come on, Coachman!" And I have that screaming in my head every time Coachman opens his mouth. It's like, just shut up already. With Cole, to be honest, I would rather have Cole just put in production. Bring Rich Brennan back.
I got a better idea. Let's put the three of us on Monday Night Raw.
I'm okay with that.
No. I don't want to travel every week.
Oh, I totally do.
I'm
there.
Dude, I would be all over that concept. Look, if Impact actually paid, I'd go to Florida.
Damn.
What?
I don't know. I'm trying to hold my breath on a couple things right now because I have to just personally process it. But my brain, I was gonna jump somewhere and now I can't remember where I was gonna jump to because you said something. I was like, oh, let me think about the the website. So you mentioned Wrestle Talk, which made me just think about another wrestling news organization.
Yeah, that ain't news. The one if you're bringing up the one I think you are, that ain't news.
I think there's a number associated. Maybe I shouldn't give them credit. I'm not going to give them credit, just because they were so bad at this, and you know, them trying to be funny was a miserable backfire. And within minutes they realized, oops. They put out an image of Finn Balor coming out from the back with
the one I told you about. This is the one I told you about.
This is the one what?
The one I told you about.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I forgot it was you who told me. So you take it if you want.
Oh, no. You're more than welcome to it. Go for it.
But basically it was Finn Balor coming out with some followers and wearing... I didn't think this was a brand new shirt. I really thought this was a shirt I've seen before.
No.
Like months ago. And it's the shirt he wore at WrestleMania. And the caption on this photo was, and correct me if I'm wrong, I wanted a demon, or I wanted to see the demon.
No. Well, the caption I saw was, no demons, just a bunch of homos.
Yes.
Which was absolutely reprehensible in my book.
Yes. In this day and age, in any day and age.
In any day and age.
Right.
I mean, Ted, have you seen this yet?
No, and it's probably a good thing that I don't.
Look, I'm just... Okay, Phil, go ahead. Continue, please.
I mean, just... Yeah, we're all saying it. It's just inappropriate. It's just beyond being bad form. And it honestly, when you read it, it's not even an attempt at humor. It's an attempt to throw a jibe.
No, it's just trash in bad taste.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think they knew it was in bad taste. That's what I'm trying to say. I think they intentionally threw it out there because they have a personal issue, and that's why they threw it out there. I don't think it was, oh, we thought it was funny and we tried to, because
no,
you know, as far as I can see, when they removed it and it's not been referenced again on their site.
Right.
Plenty of other people are referencing it.
The whole damn internet.
Right. But the horrible thing is they might actually get some views off of it because people are like, what's the next dumb thing they're going to do?
Kind of like the Howard Stern philosophy of life. What's he going to say next, or what's he going to say next?
Right.
I know. Look, I don't ever condemn somebody's personal beliefs because you have your right to believe and think the way you want to. We can have creative discussions and intellectual, fact-filled debate as to why we may have differing opinions on a subject. But those do not cross over into the workplace. This was my problem with a number of stars in the world, and I use that term loosely, in the world of athletics. I don't care, and I mean this in a pure sense, not in a derogatory sense. I don't care about another person's political beliefs or social beliefs. They are the property of that person. Just like I don't expect anybody to care about my personal belief set. I may believe in things that you don't. Mm-hmm. but I'm not going to use my pulpit, the bully pulpit, if you will, no relation to Team 3D, to force those opinions to those who are kind enough to listen to this show. We've had discussions before about politics.
Mm-hmm.
I piss off both sides with pride. I mean, I got no problem with that. But as far as it goes for what they did at 434, that ranks inside the top one of the dumbest comments anyone could ever make, especially on their so-called WORK/professional social media accounts. Save that one for your personal one. Don't put it on the professional one.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen, any umbrage with what I just laid out there? Ted, I'll go to you first. You've been relatively quiet for the minute.
I have no problem with what you said whatsoever. I agree 110%. I think it was a completely idiot from what I'm hearing you guys describe. I think it was completely idiotic, unprofessional, and those guys don't deserve to have any sort of job whatsoever. They're going to have that following them for the rest of their lives, and they got to live with it. It's just like the Oklahoma City announcer who said something he shouldn't have. I don't think it's necessarily in the same vein. But, you know, in this day and age, you can't say the things that you used to be able to get away with saying in the 80s or the 90s.
Right. Or the 70s.
Well, some people aren't old enough to remember the 1870s, Eddie.
Okay, thank you. I was only 3 at the time. Bringing that back this week. I'll give you this one to consider. One of my favorite television game shows of all time was Match Game. Gene Rayburn, Brett Summers, Charles Nelson Riley, Richard Dawson, blah, 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 blah. There was a question, and the YouTube feed for Match Game Productions has this episode, and it said this episode will never be shown on Buzzer or GSN because of one word. The question was, I can't remember the exact question, but the payoff line was because he turned into a blank. Brett Summers filled in the blank with the word fag. Okay. 74, 75, 76, that word could be utilized. Even on national television.
And consider for a second who she was sitting next to.
Charles Nelson Riley. Most of the time.
Thank you.
And from that vantage point, it's like, okay, I am a 52-year-old, 60-pound overweight Italian-American male. I've heard every Italian joke that can be thrown my way. I've been called every Italian slang term. And you know something? I don't care. I really don't. I have made the statement in public and in private for over 25 years that I know of. If you can find a new and innovative way to offend me in any capacity whatsoever, I'll buy you a frickin' cookie.
Oh, why didn't you tell me this 5 years ago?
You knew about it.
I didn't. Otherwise, I'd be 400 pounds instead of only 300. I would be coming up with new and creative ways to insult you on a daily basis, and it would work.
I said offend, not insult. There's a difference.
Okay. I could offend you 365 days a year, and
Fine.
it would surprise you each and every time.
Tell you what, next time you're down here just for fun, we'll go to the Great American Cookie Company, whatever location is closest, and we'll split one of those 18-inch cookies. And you can eat the whole damn thing if you actually offend me.
I'll just take 85% and we'll just call it even.
That works for me too. But Phil, you get the last word on that particular topic, and a cookie if you'd like to.
I'll just take the cookie. We're
All
good.
right. Paige becoming general manager of SmackDown comma, in my opinion, comma, is blank. Phil Stamper.
What happens when you retire on Raw?
Ted Guinness.
It's perfectly fine. I have no problem with it.
Eddie filling in the blank would be highly questionable.
Why?
Because I don't think she has the personality to pull it off long term. Her long form mic.
Neither did Daniel Bryan. Neither did anybody who's ever been a GM or a commissioner or whatever.
Hey, look, damn it,
because
Mike.
that role gets so stale. Nobody wants to see him for that long. That's why there's a lot of turnover in that job.
Hey, man, Mike Adamle did a phenomenal job as GM of Raw. Said no one ever.
Eddie, we're going to need you to pee in this cup.
You'll get a lot of tuna salad out of it. And on that note, tell you what we're going to do. And by the way, for the record, I did just get a return message from Shane Noles. He is dealing with a family circumstance right now that was an emergency circumstance. So, of course, I'm going to sit back and say, Shane, our hearts are with you, brother. Our thoughts are with you. And, you know, if you're able to call in during hour number 2 of the live version, doors always open. So from that vantage point, don't forget, you can find Shane at Useless Trivia. You can find you can find Useless Trivia over on Facebook. And you can find him on Twitter at Shane Noles. One word, run it together. Next live appearance for him, I know he's going to be in a number of different places, but I'm going to go throw this one out there. Saturday, April the 21st, VFW Fairgrounds, 1625 Bankhead Highway, under the banner of Peach State Wrestling Alliance. This past Saturday was chaos, and it's going to get even crazier a week from this coming Saturday. Once again, that is April 21, the VFW Fairgrounds, Peach State Wrestling Alliance. Mark your calendars, make your plans. On the personal side, as we wrap up hour number 1, the reason why we do it like this is we're coming back live for the second hour. The first hour will be put YouTube exclusive. The entire show will be on our podcast feed, but that first hour will be specifically on YouTube. From that vantage point, at Beyond Ringside on Twitter, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. For me personally, tomorrow night, that is going to be Friday the 13th, Buffalo Wild Wings in Alabaster, Alabama. Friday night karaoke kicks off at 9 o'clock p.m. Saturday night the 14th, I will be at Jake's Soul Food Cafe in McCalla, USA. McCalla, McCalla, Alabama.
For the record?
Yes.
Could I point out that you said I can't even say it because you didn't say specifically. It was like specifically.
I was channeling my inner Dusty Rhodes.
Okay. That's not Dusty.
Specifically? Speak for yourself. Phil, shameless plugs real quick.
Make sure you follow me on Twitter because there's lots of things that are coming up. I have MCW this coming Saturday, and you can follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch at PS Phenom, and on Facebook at Deska Phil Stamper.
Ted Guinness, got one you want to throw out there?
I got to take off here in a second anyways because I'm pissing off the neighbors in the hotel. They've already pounded on the wall 3 times. So, tomorrow afternoon I'll be appearing at Seattle SeaTac Airport. I'm also going to be making an appearance at Boise International Airport tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And then on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time, I will be in Huntington, Oregon, signing autographs at 420ville. Okay, did I say that out loud? Damn.
Folks, for those of you listening live, Hour 2 will kick off in just a few moments. For those of us catching us on replay and on YouTube, come join us, BeyondRingside.com, as well as ProWrestlingRadio.net and the Beyond Ringside Radio app for Amazon, Android, and BlackBerry. So many ways you can find us. Hour 1 of the books. This is the Shooters Gallery on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network and ProWrestlingRadio.net.
When planning your next party or special event, insist on the best Full Range Entertainment is a professional entertainment company providing a full range of services. From professional disc jockeys and MCs to catering and photography, when the details of your special day must be perfect, call us first. Wedding receptions, corporate parties, school functions, birthday celebrations, and more. We also have Birmingham's largest selection of karaoke tracks available. With over 40 years combined experience, Full Range Entertainment can provide you with the talent and professionalism you need and deserve to make your next event one you'll never forget. For more information on the full range of services we offer, call 533-HITS. That's 533-HITS. Or check us out on our website at fullrangeentertainment.com.
The To Be Determined Show, live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on this very radio station, Beyond Ringside Radio Network, BeyondRingside.com, ProWrestlingRadio.net, as well as the Beyond Ringside Radio app. Join myself, the Oracle of Ominous, the Architect of Intellect, the Wicked Nemesis, and my producer extraordinaire, Fast Eddie Layne.
That'd be me over here.
My co-host, Joshua O'Hagan.
Kitty got claws. Meow.
My much better half, Angie Nemesis.
Come join the madness.
This is not safe for work. This is your warning, parental advisory. If you have any kind of heart defects, make sure you listen because they will take effect when we go live. I promise you that. For everything outside of wrestling and a little bit of wrestling and hardcore to the bone, we are the To Be Determined Show.
What's up, everybody? It's Stan Grubb for Corner to Corner Wrestling Radio and the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. Hey, join us every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as the triple threat of wrestling radio goes live every week, giving you their thoughts and opinions on the world of professional wrestling. Myself, Brian, and Rob, all live, all here for you. And as my good friend Rob would say, from corner to corner and pillar to post, we bring it to you every week at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. BeyondRingside.com and ProWrestlingRadio.net.
If you really want to get raw on Monday nights, tune into the Beyond Ringside Radio Network at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 Central Time for the Midnight Black Mass Podcast. Myself, the Reverend Dan the Dragon Wilson, along with the Strong Style Psycho Tank and Andrew Alexander, bring you a truly blood-curdling experience. Uncensored, uncut, and only on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
Howdy, friends. It's the Magic City Motor Mouth Fast Eddie Layne with your invitation to join me, Mark Mabo Bowman, and Brooks Logan Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern for Beyond Ringside Live. Wrestling, mixed martial arts, sports talk, and a whole lot more. Find us on BeyondRingside.com, ProWrestlingRadio.net, and the Beyond Ringside Radio app for Amazon, Android, BlackBerry, and a whole lot more. Once again, that's Sundays, 6:30 p.m. Eastern for Beyond Ringside Live on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network and ProWrestlingRadio.net.
This is Country Jack, Corey Hollis, and you are locked in to Beyond Ringside.
This is Larry Goodman, GWH News and Notes, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
This is Dr. Tom Pritchard, and if you want to listen to the best in professional wrestling, get locked in to Beyond Ringside.